Much of Lelkar is destroyed, including the western bridge. There isn't much more we can do here as the citizens begin rebuilding, though there is one person we need to talk to. Mosin, the armor merchant we gave a lot of money to despite him being a filthy Godwin supporter, stands in front of his ruined shop. He's having a bit of a breakdown, wondering how the Queen's Knights could set fire to a whole city. He notices us and explains his shop was passed down through generations, and now it's gone because of Godwin. We ask if he'd like to set up shop at our castle, an offer he readily accepts after we saved the town, or what's left of it. Note, however, that he wouldn't do this if we didn't spend an exorbitant amount of money at his shop before it was destroyed, and the only other way of recruiting him is giving him more money later on in the game, so I don't know, I don't think politics factor much into his decision making here. The central islet is left relatively untouched from the fire thanks to R and the leader of Lelkar's quick actions, which is good because that's where our boat is. We head back to the cutie castle, arriving at the docks. We talk to Gino real quick, who's hanging out here, who says there's something living in the lake, so neat. We head to the war room and report on what happened. Lele joins us as Raja and Lucretia congratulate us. Lele feels as if she failed in her duties as acting tactician since, half the city got burned to the ground. Lucretia scolds her, not because she feels Lele failed, but because Lele admitted failure. A good tactician never admits wrongdoing, she says, as that would cause dissension amongst the ranks and make people trust us less. She then says Lele did a fine enough job and, I guess she did good. With that debriefing done, there is, of course, another problem, this time in Sable. Cyledes and Lucretia explain that a Bandit Prince appears to be raising hell around the area. This Bandit Prince calls himself, us. That's why he's a prince. What's worse is a lot of the population believes this Bandit Prince to actually be us. Leon mentions that Boz and Den should be there and should obviously be able to explain to the citizens that we aren't there, but apparently they've seen this bandit and he does indeed appear to look exactly like us. They know he isn't us, of course, but that speaks to the quality of the impersonation. Cyledes is very upset that anyone would impersonate us and demands she come along to Sable and slap him. Leon agrees to the slapping because we are fucking cool with the ladies, man. While we get our party set up for our next expedition, let's go over our new friends from Lelkar. We got 4 dudes. Unfortunately, I don't have a lot to say about our new friends because they don't have a lot to them. None of them can be used in battle, and they aren't spectacular support or major battle characters either. Volga is perhaps the most useful as he leads a decent spear or ram unit and can provide a decent defensive buff to another unit if he's assigned to them. Wasil leads an archer unit or ship and is not particularly interesting. He gives a charge of barrage, which is always useful. I like his hat. It's like a graduation hat he folded over and taped together.
Actually, this dude is just like wearing a taco on his head. What the fuck?
Orruk drugged and sent young men and boys to be forcibly drafted into an army, but he's with us because he was nice to an old man once. He's pretty useless. He can slightly lower the attack of enemy units in major battles, which isn't the worst thing in the world, but he will quickly be replaced with better characters. Finally, Mosin is our armor guy. He'll sell us armor at the castle, and we can put him in our entourage to buy and sell on the go. He also adds defense to any military unit he's assigned to, but he's mostly useful for the armor thing. Oh, and he fucking looks like Dr. Phil. Before we head off to Sable, there's a few more friends we can make. By the inn at our castle, we find Taylor, the newspaper man who showed up a while ago. He notes that he's been investigating the castle and like to use an empty room in the inn to conduct an interview with one of his sources. We let him and he heads on in. Alone. He comes out a few minutes later, again alone, saying the interview was a success. Okay. We find Taylor again hanging out around the sealed rune room, which he asks us to use to conduct yet another interview. He heads in, alone, to conduct another successful interview. Are you We find him again on the second floor of the castle, and he asks us to use another room for a hard-hitting interview. Okay, you're just jerking off all over my castle. You're getting your journalistic integrity all over my stuff. I'm gonna walk into these rooms and it's gonna smell like a clay mine. Fine, whatever, go off. He returns from his interview and thanks us for respecting his profession. He says that when the Godwins took over Solf Helena, he was there the next day to get the story. Of course, the Godwins wouldn't let him spunk all over their new place, so they kicked him out. Taylor tried to sneak in because no one can stop him in his mission to glaze every surface in the world with his reporter's discerning gaze, but was caught and thrown in jail. This, combined with all the obvious propaganda being spouted by the Godwins, has convinced Taylor to eschew his impartiality and join the Friend Army. We don't get a choice, he just joins, but he doesn't ask us to let him jerk off in our castle anymore, so whatever. Taylor is yet another support-only character. He doesn't attack with the camera or whatever the fuck like a journalist would in some other RPG. When in our entourage, he provides the same ability as Lele, letting us see the health bar of our enemies. Just, without having to actually use Lele. Other than that, he lowers the defense of any unit, a military unit he's assigned to attacks. Overall, he's a pretty uninteresting character mechanics-wise. He does, however, actually publish a newspaper. After certain events in the story, you can talk to him to read an issue. These will mostly just tell you things you already know, but will give you a bit more context on how the world is reacting to what you're doing. Our next stop is back to Lelkar, and you might be able to guess why. Like after other major battles, Don Knotts is here taking care of the injured. This one is a bit different for him, however, as the unwarranted destruction and loss of life was entirely the fault of the Queen's Knights. This was one step too far for Sheriff Barney, and when we ask him to join, he now believes helping us is the only way to help others. Finally, the legendary comedian joins our rebel army. For all the trouble he gave us in recruiting him, Don is okay. He's a support-only character, of course, healing our party a small bit after battles if he's in the entourage. He does basically the same thing to any military unit he's assigned to, which can be useful if we don't have any offensive characters left. Overall, though, there are much more useful support characters. In fact, Marina's healing every round in combat is typically more impactful, but he can save you more healing items and magic, and thus time, so he's cool in my book. We ain't done in Lelkar, as we stop by what remains of the rune shop. There we find Jean. She's for some reason set up shop here. We ask her to join us because fucking duh, dude, come on. She doesn't really give us an answer, instead telling us that there's something she needs to pick up and asks if we'd come with her. We agree, and she asks us if we know about the big hole.
Yeah, I know a lot about a big hole.
She is, of course, referring to the big hole we've passed by a few times near Rainwall, called the Big Hole, and not, as you may have inferred, some kind of orifice on the human body. And then she follows us around, signaling the start of a side quest. We get ready to head to the hole that is big. Descending into the hole, we find a tunnel with some monsters in it. These aren't all that noteworthy, just the common bugs and bats we fought in other underground areas that poison us. Deeper into the tunnel, we come across a man named Levi and a young dwarf named Bergen bickering. We overhear Levi instructing the dwarf to dig in search of an orb, promising to show Bergen his abilities when they find it. We speak to Levi, and he asks if we're looking for the great runic magic master. Bergen says Levi is a great wizard, having made a huge hole. That's a big hole. Big, huge. Biggest you ever fucking seen in your life.
Shit down that big fucking hole.
Levi resents being called a wizard, preferring to be called a rune magic scholar. He's kind of an asshole about it, but he likes runes. We speak to them again, and Levi senses our Dawn rune on our person. He demands we hand over the Dawn rune, to which we reply only if he joins us. He briefly considers it, but then says it would be pointless as the Dawn rune, being all special and whatnot, chooses its wielder. We couldn't give it to him if we wanted to. This makes him mad, and he banishes us from his presence. A few steps from Gandalf the Cunt, we find a big old door that Jean opens with her hocus pocus. Inside, we find some very old-looking ruins, Jean explaining that the city before us existed before even the Sindar. With a tee-hee, she points out what looks like a temple in the distance as our destination. This is a fairly linear dungeon with a few paths blocked off by rubble that you have to find a way around. The whole thing is one screen though, so it's not hard to get lost or anything. Heading off an alley to the west, we spy a chest that contains the Anklets of Destiny, another piece of the Destiny armor set that increases HP. The enemies here are stuff we've seen before, mostly undead. Undead enemies tend to be pretty beefy though, especially the mummies, so we actually can't really just auto-battle without risk. Mages help a lot here. We didn't really bring any, but Jean herself will suffice. Deeper in, within another alley, we find a chest containing devil beads, another bath item we'll go over later. Near our destination, we find two chests hidden next to each other, one containing a holy amulet and the other the prosperity tunic. The holy amulet raises a character's holy affinity and lowers their dark affinity. And the prosperity tunic, like the other prosperity armor pieces, is fairly lackluster defensively, but increases the amount of money we earn. Eventually, through a few twists and turns, we reach where Jean wanted us to go. Inside, the path splits, with two sets of stairs. We go to the right and find a Eventually, we find a chest containing another Mother Earth piece. We loop around to the left and find another chest, this one holding the Sorcery Tactic. The Sorcery Tactic is one of the strongest in the game if you're running mages. Not only does it massively increase one of your character's magic stat, but the formation skill can allow them to chain magic like Vicky, which can be insanely powerful in the right hands. Eventually we reach the center of this area and we walk very slowly to some kind of pedestal. Jean walks up to it, glows real bright, and says we're done. We ask her to join us because that's what's important here, and she says yes. We pick up a few more chests in here, one containing a dragon incense, a powerful healing item, and one containing a magic ring, a good mage accessory. Then we get the hell out of here. Jean is a quintessential mage, though she is a bit better than other hard mage characters in physically attacking because she has access to the Sword of Magic skill. It's not enough to make her actually good as a physical attacker, but if you find yourself running out of magic, I guess it's something to consider. Overall, she's a very good offensive mage otherwise, it's just she tends to get outshone by more overpowered ones like Xerace. Part of this is she comes equipped with the charm rune fixed to her head slot, which gives her a 50% chance to charm an enemy that attacks her, redirecting the attack to one of the enemy's allies. This is good, but it also limits the number of runes she can carry and doesn't contribute to her otherwise offensive strengths. Still, give her a lightning rune and she'll blow up most enemies in the game. You can't go wrong with her. Really, the only thing bad about her is she doesn't have that banging dress from Suikoden 3. God damn. Hey, look at that, we're in Yashuna Village. Here we run into Linfa, the girl who cheated at Blind Man's Bluff before, who flags us down and apologizes for being a dirty cheater, even giving us our money back. She must not feel too bad about it though, because a woman starts yelling at her for cheating her out of her money and chases her off. Well, we've got one last stop before we head off to Sable, and that's Estrees. We head to the inn where we find Nikea, the mercenary we fought in Lelkar. She's startled to see us and assumes we're here to arrest her, or just to throw her in the river. We know she was tricked, mostly, by Auroch, and ask her to join us. She considers it, but mentions that she wants a rematch first. If we win, then she'll join the friend army. We take it outside and begin a duel. Nikea is possibly the easiest duel in the game, like even easier than the tutorial one. She's really bad at concealing her moves, often just calling them out before doing them. In this fight, she just keeps trying her Demba Avalanche, so yeah, it's pretty easy.
Demba Avalanche! Demba Avalanche! Demba Avalanche! Demba Avalanche! I lost.
Afterwards, she seems a bit dejected, but is sure we want someone with a bunch of special moves on our side and joins us. But not before giving us... Nikea is best girl in the game, so you know that's reason enough to use her right there. But if you need more convincing, she's also one of the best fighters in the game. She's not top tier, being edged out by the likes of Belcoot and Richard, but strong enough to carry a party through the game as a primary damage dealer. Her biggest strength is she multi-hits constantly. Once she gets some levels, it's actually rare to see her not combo. She's not the tankiest character, but she's actually no slouch in that department, with decent health and evasion. Her main weakness is she only has one free rune slot, one being closed and the other fixed to the boar rune. This lets her deal 3 times damage to one opponent, but unbalances her and reduces her accuracy for the rest of the fight. Not useful for long fights, but can help end random encounters quicker, I guess. She's pretty garbo in major battles too, but if you're looking for a short-range fighter, you can't go bad with Nikea. Okay, next we do a lot of boring stuff like level up our skills on the characters I haven't used much, upgrade some weapons, yada yada. Okay, finally time to head to Sable and continue the story. We have Vicky teleport us to Lord Lake and head east along the path, eventually reaching a large wall that acts as the border to Sable. There, the guards immediately assume we're bandits and won't listen to reason, saying they were already tricked into believing we were the real prince once, and attack us. This is yet another stack of dudes fight, more or less easily taken care of by a few AoE spells and special attacks. After we beat Dadaeus, the guards start to call for reinforcements, before being stopped by Boz and Den. They notice that Leon and Cyledes are with us, meaning we're for sure the real prince, and call off the guards. They almost don't listen to General Den, so sure they are that we're a no-good bandit. Cyledes questions just how good the impersonator is, as she calls us purty. Our escorts reaffirm their desire to slap the Bandit Prince, and Boz and Den join us to take us to Sable. The enemies in this area are a bit of a step up from the rest. With our mishmash of party members, it's getting harder to just auto-battle through combat unless we want to heal up after every fight, which I don't want to do. A short trek on the path and we reach the city of Sable proper. As we enter, some townspeople notice us and call us mean names. They notice General Den with us and back off, but still, you know, it hurts. Den leads us to a city hall. There we meet one Solus Rawbell, the Lord of Sable. Solus is very apologetic of our treatment so far and says he doesn't believe for a second that we're actually acting as a bandit. Also, it turns out that one of the reasons the townsfolk are so sure we're a big bad guy is when Boz went hunting for the actual perpetrator, he was so shocked at the resemblance he yelled out for us.
Because he's a big fucking dumbass.
Solus reveals that he's actually all but ready to join forces with us, but simply can't go against the wishes of his citizenry. And the citizenry are a bunch of dummies who think we've given up our princely duties to be some vagabond for some reason. The group decides that the only real way to prove ourselves to the people of Sable is to catch the real Bandit Prince ourselves. Solus believes the bandits are based out of the Ranro Mountain nearby. Den accompanies us and we have a new destination. There isn't much to do in Sable since everyone hates us, but we do find a chest containing elementary magic in a plaza at the city hall. This lets us raise our magic skills to rank A. Again, a very important item just kind of laying around. The architecture and environment of Sable really sells that it's a very contentious place, mostly defined by its proximity to armées. There are walls and supplies all over. It almost feels like a castle town. Up some stairs, we find a silver hammer, which we can probably give to Dango later, spoilers. On a path leading outside, we find a chest that has the Crown of Destiny, which is just another part of the Destiny armor set and is as special as it sounds. Finally, hidden on one of the city's walls, we find the 8th old book. We have to loop around a little bit, but Ranro Mountain is indeed basically directly north of Sable. Makes you wonder why they didn't send people up here to deal with the bandits already, seeing as they know where they are, but whatever. Well, hey, turns out they have sent people, cause we're immediately stopped by some guards at the base of the mountain. Den explains we're here to clear our name, which they aren't happy with, but they stand down like good little boys. We traverse this mountain by climbing up and down the big tree roots. It's kind of hard to tell they are indeed climbable at first, but essentially the mountain is broken up into several small platforms by the roots. The enemies here are pretty useful for experience though, and aren't that hard to take out. Just some animals and bandits. I'll spare you the exact route we take and just highlight the treasure we find. First, we find a new tactic, the Circle Tactic. This is a defensive tactic that increases our character's physical defense but lowers their attack. This can be useful in heavy magic-based parties with 2 tanky characters up front who probably aren't going to do that much physical damage anyway. Then we find the Swiftfoot Epic skill, which will be useful for our quick attackers later on in the game. Finally, we get a Winder Set 4 in fact. After some climbing, we finally get to the top of the mountain and find a camp. A rather friendly looking bandit with a damn bird in his hair greets us, assuming us to be a boy named Roy. A young girl looks at us and says that Roy is actually here inside the cave. The pudgy bandit doesn't really put it together, but the girl figures out we're the real prince and battle commences. This is basically the same group of 6 dudes fight we've done a bajillion times so far, but with 2 significant differences, those being the 2 special characters. Though they share the same name, Bandit, they're far stronger than their 4 generic compatriots. The big boy is pretty beefy, taking a lot of damage, though he doesn't deal all that much. The girl is the real danger here, as she does a fair amount of damage from a range, which is why our mages in the back get fucked up real quick. I don't really play that optimally here, to be honest, but what I was going for was knock out all the generic bandits with AoE magic, then focus on the 2 in the middle. It's easier than I made it look, especially since Den is a pretty strong unit and we upgraded his weapon back in Sable. We take the bandits down, though they aren't dead, just immobilized, I guess, and they basically tell us where their leader is within a cave at the end of the camp. The inside of the cave is actually a little mini dungeon with some more bandits in it. Off to the right as we come in, there's a room with some Tearel armor, a decent magic chest piece. We pop into a side room on the other path and...
Are you Roy?
Oh man. Guess the jig's up, huh? Just when it was starting to get good, too. Relax. I'm not gonna put up a fight. Wouldn't want to wear myself out, you know? Oh, looks like the real thing showed up, huh? Yeah, a lot of people told me we looked alike, but geez, we're like 2 peas in a pod. Kinda scary, huh?
Yeah, I'm pretty shocked myself. No wonder Dine and Boz couldn't tell you apart.
Really? I don't think they look all that much alike. Their features are completely different. The prince doesn't look vulgar like he does.
Ain't you a sweet talker? Yeah, so I'm a thug from the slums. My whole life I've had to crawl around with other lowlifes of society. Unlike the prince here, who's been pampered like a little baby. No wonder we look different. But we still look an awful lot alike. So don't you think it's unfair our lives are so different? That's why I thought I'd do something about it. Get a little taste of the rich life, you know? And smear a little mud on the prince's face at the same time. And man, it was fun!
How dare you!
What a bunch of nonsense.
Huh?
Do you really think that just because you had a tough childhood, it gives you the right to steal and hurt people? There are plenty of people who grew up without parents or money but still live good, honest lives.
You giving me a lecture?
I wouldn't waste my time. But there's one thing you should admit. You're just doing whatever you feel like doing. Stop blaming your bad behavior on your childhood and grow up! How dare you even think about defacing the prince's image!
Leon.
Listen up, sweetie. You don't know a thing about me, so don't pretend you do. You know what? I've changed my mind. I was gonna go quiet and not tire myself out, but you had to go and get me all fired up. Alright, Your Highness. I'll take you on one-on-one. If you win, you can kill me, punish me, do whatever the hell you want. But if I win, that'll prove I'm a man of higher caliber than you. Then I get to take your place as prince.
Your Highness, don't give in to his taunts.
He'll be fine.
But Leon,
The prince won't lose.
There's no backing out now, you know. I'll teach you what it's like out in the real world!
Roy is definitely the hardest duel we've done so far, really the first one I can see someone actually losing. He doesn't give away a whole lot in his callouts, and in fact basically lies in one, the only clue being that if he laughs at the end of a quote, he's gonna fuck around on you. He's the first opponent with a special move as well, which is a move that beats both attack and super and must be defended against. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, in this fight, Roy just decides to attack over and over again near the end, and we just special him to death. We do guard one of his supers though.
Damn you! That really hurt! Come on, what's the matter? I'm nowhere near done yet. Even up close, I guess we really do look alike. Alright, this one is gonna put you out of your misery. Why don't you go already? Damn you! That really hurt! Lost. Can't believe it.
After we beat the shit out of him, Roy's wig falls off. He says he's a man of his word and tells us to kill him and do whatever we want with the corpse. Before we get any ideas, Fei Lon and Fei Lin, the two bandits we beat up outside the cave, rush in. They explain that Roy was put up to the act of impersonating us in order to sully our name. They can't remember the name of the person who did it, which, I don't know, seems kind of stupid, but whatever. But explain that he looked like a young noble who hates us.
Oh, I wonder who that could be.
The group basically alludes to knowing who the young noble is, like I just did, and the bandits plead with us not to kill Roy and fuck his corpse, stating they never even touched the loot they took. Roy isn't having it, as he wants to die real bad, wanting a big execution. We're nice, I guess, and explain we won't murder the child. Sileads feels we made the right choice and says the bandits could still be useful. She tells them they'll have to follow orders, which they readily accept over being killed. Of course, no one in this game explains their plans to anyone, so we don't know what Cyleads is gonna do, but we have to return to Sable regardless, bandits in tow. Oh, and we pick up a Cyclone rune piece and a wind ring, an accessory that increases wind affinity. We're greeted by Solus and Boz at the gates, who recognize the two bandits we've brought with us. They want to immediately show the people we've captured the real bandits, but Cyleads tells them we're actually looking for someone else. Solus lets us keep our captives at his residence until Cyleads tells us what to do with them. Solus is such a weird character. He's the leader of this whole big, important area, but he's just a nice dude. Kind of refreshing, to be honest. We head up to the attic of Solus's mansion to show our bandits their new, kind of bare-bones place. They're elated to see it though, since, they've been living in a cave. The next day, we reconvene outside the gate, with Cylead and Leon in street clothes. Den is worried about this plan, but promises to do his best.
Hey, Bandit Prince, how dare you attack Sable?
No! Help!
Hold it right there! Barrows has arrived. People of Sable, I am here, so have no fear. I hope you're ready for me, you Bandit Prince. I can't believe you've allowed yourself to sink so low, you mean, despicable fellow. What would your poor dead parents think of you now? I will not let you besmirch the name of Belena's royal family any further, so just wait right there, or beware.
Master Euro, be careful.
I know. I don't need anyone to tell me.
Master Euro!
What is he doing? I don't know. Beats me.
Master Euro, are you alright?
Oh, of course I'm not all right! Why didn't you guys hold me up like you were supposed to?
But you slipped. It wasn't our fault.
Quiet! I've heard enough. Now come on. Now then, sorry for the wait. At last, the time has come to punish this atrocious fiend of a prince. With this sword in hand, I shall slay thee!
What?
Get him!
Yeah, it was Urim again. Poor, dickless Urim. This fight is piss easy. Urim and his thugs do pitiful amounts of damage, and Urim actually has far less HP than his generic minions. A few AoE spells, and this fight is over. After we beat him, Urim yells at us, thinking we're Roy, explaining that we were supposed to throw the fight to sully the prince's name. A bunch of townspeople had crowded around to watch the fight and picked up on his slip. Den then calls in Roy to really show them all what's been going on here. And finally, we convince these stupid people that we did not suddenly become ruthless bandits for no reason. This guy wants to give a good old pounding to Urim. Man. Urim just can't get a break. Though he did mock us for having dead parents, so he kind of deserves it. The townspeople chase off Urim to pound him. Back at his mansion, Solus thanks us for our help, and we act all humble about it, because, we kind of did do everything. He asks Den to accompany us back to our headquarters and stay with us, and Den readily accepts, joining us for good. Meanwhile, the bandits ask for their pardon, which Cyleads reminds them she never actually promised them. She has a compromise, however, asking Roy to join the friend army and act as our double, which, is actually a really good idea. Good going, Cyleads. Roy accepts on the premise that we let his two friends go. Fei Lin and Fei Lan, however, won't have it and demand to go along with Roy. Note that they only want to come along at this point if you act all nice and humble in your choices during this part, though you can pick them up later if you miss them here. With that, we get a bunch of new friends, having won the contentious Sable to our rebellion.